The other day, someone asked me if the Amish, where I'm from, taught us about our history, the origin of the Amish, and what that looked like. And the short answer is no, and this is what it sounded like. If I asked my parents why we do things the way that we do and why the rules were the way that they were, the answer was always, that's just the way it's always been. And that was the answer that my mom had for me, and I truthfully think it was because she didn't have any other answer for me. With that being said, we were not allowed to study history in school. So it wasn't something that was one of our subjects. After I left, I studied for my GED, and history was one of the subjects that I had to learn. I have to be honest with you, I did not love it. I was like, why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to know these things? There was no comprehension behind studying history because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I would need to know it or why it would be fascinating, how it would benefit my life. What I did enjoy learning, though, when I went to study for my GED was science. I discovered that I had a love for learning about science and the biology and how things work. History was a different story. But with that being said, I recently, in the last few years, started to really get into history, but very, very recently got a lot more into the history of the Amish. And I'm learning more and more things about the origin of the Amish, why they believe the things that they did, how they started things. Like Menno Simons was the guy that started the whole Mennonite movement, and then Jacob Ammon was the guy that started the Amish. And so I've been going back and listening, watching, and reading a lot of things about the origin of the Anabaptists, and then how that led into the Hutterites, the Mennonites, and the Amish. What's really interesting about Jacob Ammon, who started the Amish, is he started the Amish, but then he got to a point where he was like, this has gone too far, and he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And he actually, from my understanding, he wanted to stop it. He didn't think that it was appropriate or right to continue on the route that they were going, but there was a group of people that said, no, like, we actually like this and we believe in this, so we're gonna keep going. So Jacob Ammon, who started the Amish, from my understanding and what I've learned so far, is that he eventually walked away from the Amish community. So with that being said, there's so much history and so much to unpack. So when people ask me, what is the difference between the Amish and the Mennonite, there's so many layers, and it's a lot to unpack. And I would say one of the biggest things to do is, if you really, really want to understand all of the different orders and stuff, is like you have to like study it. Like you have to like study each order and try to understand like that there are so many layers. But in general, like there's some generalizations when it comes to like Mennonites and Amish, but then with each Amish and Mennonite community, then there's all these layers within that. So that's my experience with history, and I am thoroughly enjoying learning about the origin of the Amish, how they came about. For example, like there was a community that lived in Russia at one point, and then they migrated over to Kansas at some point. So really, really fascinating, and I'm loving it, and I'm hoping that you guys are loving it as I'm sharing as much as I do.